Welcome back to the Sounds of Stadia podcast for episode number 137 of your weekly show where we round up all of the gaming and video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games or up there on your podcast preference of choice in the digital cloud. This week, you join myself, Chris, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, and welcome one, welcome all. We've got a great show for you all this week. We're going to be talking about Square Enix being sold to the mighty, secret, stealthy organisation of the Embracer Group. We're going to be talking about Summer Game Fest coming up and will Stadia be involved. We're going to be breaking down all of the ratings, Ubisoft having troubles with their games, as seems to be the common problem. And speaking of problems, we're also going to be talking about a little cross-play situation that's annoying a couple of people out there in the community, and it's only someone to blame. But we'll get into all that. And before we do, don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you are kept in the loop with all of the amazing cloud gaming content we bring you here at Helix Cloud Games. Like our weekly live streams, like our Let's Play series, like our cheeky little SideQuest episodes that we put out every single week breaking down a particular topic. This week, Richie, we spoke about, for anyone out there who's new to Stadia and is new to the channel, the best Stadia starter pack. Now,
we did.
Quite a fun episode because obviously we've been Stadia players for quite some time now, like coming up on 3 years later this year. Both founders, and we thought actually it's been a long time since we actually sat down and thought if I was brand new to this platform, what the hell? Where do I start? Where do I go? Cotton Eye Joe.
Yeah, that's it. We are so entrenched in the Stadia ecosystem now. Sometimes we forget that there is new people coming to it all the time. So we just want to do an episode to those who are new. It's like, oh, where do? Because I can imagine it's quite intimidating sometimes. Like, how do I get into this? I've heard about this thing, but it's like, what do I need to buy? What games should I look in to get? And it's like, do I need to buy a controller? Do I need a Chromecast? It's like, we kind of cover the whole spectrum of how,
just everything.
What's the best way to get into it? Like, I think a lot of it comes down to, though, like, what is your use case for it?
Yeah, it really is. But they should go and watch it, Richie, rather than us break it all down once again for them here. There's been a couple of stories out there this week about just getting into Stadia and people who still think it's there. But due to the marketing and stuff, it is a curious question to think. If you're out there in the general public, are you even aware of this thing? And if so, if like a friend recommends it to you or goes, oh, you know what, FIFA's on sale, you like FIFA, maybe check this out. Where do you even start? Like, obviously, you probably do a quick Google search. You go to the website, but does the website explain it that much? Because again, we don't look at that stuff because we're totally entrenched in this ecosystem now. So go check that episode out. It's available now. And of course, if you're a Helix Hero, one of the members of the channel, you get those episodes up to 6 days early when it drops on a Sunday. So little as 99p, you can support us a bit more, and early access to extra good content.
You know what people should do with that episode? If you know someone who's kind of interested in Stadia but doesn't know where to start, show them that episode. It's a good way to go, okay, to get that information. It's like 20-30 minutes of your time, and they'll go, right, and now I know where I can jump in. And honestly, Stadia Pro is a brilliant place to start.
It really is. And
50 games, there you go. Pick up a controller and you're off.
All that down within the episode. And again, those episodes wouldn't happen if it wasn't for our amazing supporters, those Helix Heroes out there. Just like Max Alley and Mr. Butler, joining the Helix Heroes crew once again. Thank you to you two gentlemen for your continued support, like 50 of you do over there on the YouTube membership program. We love and adore you ever so much. Enjoy your free content, guys. Enjoy your extra stickers, your badges next to your name, and much, much more. Richie, this last week we played games, lots of games.
We did.
It was a new month. Spring is in the air. And we dove into... Where did we start, actually? I did a first look of Kaze and the Wild Masks, which is super fun.
I've done a first look of Lumo, which isn't on, at the time of recording, isn't on the channel yet because I haven't had a chance to edit, but it will be there this week. You'll get it soon.
You opted to go out and get drunk with some work friends. How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Yeah, I mean, this whole social life thing, it gets in the way of me making content for you guys.
It does. But you know what? We do forego quite a lot of our social life to play games anyway, just like we did this week, because we also did, for May the 4th, be with you, Star Wars Day, of course. We jump back into Jedi Fallen Order. Such a great game. I've got such an itch to keep playing it, But then I've got Lego Star Wars I'm still chipping my way through, but I'm definitely on a Star Wars binge in the lead up to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So go check that out if you're a Star Wars fan. There's 2 whole episodes, 1 year apart. You can see how much we've aged in the last year by just watching them back to back. And also how much we forgot.
Is it that bad?
I can't imagine it's that bad. We haven't left the house in over a bloody year. But we watched that, we played that, and then we moved on to another pro game for the month. We did a first look of Outriders as well with you, the amazing community out there. And we had a great time. Absolutely enjoyed our first two or so hours with Outriders. I'm a pyromancer. You were
I was a trickster.
You're always a trickster, Richie. You're always a trickster. And we were joined, of course, by you lovely people in the community. We broke down kind of our first impressions, our thoughts, our ideas for the game with, of course, the World Slayer expansion on the imminent horizon. We thought, like, how could the game tweak and change and maybe expand to be more welcoming for newcomers and veterans alike. But more importantly, we had fun. That's 4 pro games this week that are terrific. It's a great time to be a Stadia player when it comes to checking out new content and stuff that you've not played before. But Richie, that's not what we're here for. We are here to break down all of the Stadia news, and we cannot do that until you, my friend, introduce us to the
super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka
the news. Huge news week in the world of video games because it tends to be the trend for this year now. It's mergers and acquisitions is the meal of choice, it would appear, for 2022. Kickstarting the week off with story number 1, as I mentioned at the top of the show, these super secret, in fact, stealth organisation, the Embracer Group, who like to gobble things up, Richie.
Embracing everything they can.
They like to gobble things up like Pac-Man on acid. And here we are once again. They've made another purchase, diving in and stripping the mighty Square Enix of some of their most beloved IP. We'll obviously break it down. The kind of overarching story is Square Enix has sold off its Western studios that include over 50 intellectual properties to the Embracer Group for a measly sum of $300 million, and we'll put that into context in a little while, but this purchase includes not only the IP, but the studios Crystal Dynamics, Adios Montreal, Square Enix Montreal, probably need to do a bit of a name change with that particular studio, and a bunch of other stuff, including over 1,100 employees. Richie, we'll start at the big one at the top, I guess, basically. Tomb Raider is now part of the Embracer Group.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole thing caught the video game industry out by surprise because Square potentially being sold as they're one of them third-party publishers who are going, is Square next? Are Ubisoft next? But selling basically half of their business to Embracer, not to Microsoft or Sony, to Embracer. I mean, Embracer buy everyone, but I don't think people, if you put money on this like a week ago, would people go, oh, it's Embracer going to buy them? You'd be like, no, it's probably Sony or maybe Microsoft. Yeah. And then for only $300 million?
Yeah, there's so much to get into.
Considering some of the numbers were being thrown around in these purchases recently, $300 million seems an absolute bargain.
I mean, yeah, if you start, I guess starting at the price, $300 million, if I think Embracer paid $360 for Gearbox alone. So that's just Gearbox and the Borderlands stuff they deal with, which isn't a bad price, I think, for Gearbox. I think Sony...
Tomb Raider's a stronger IP.
Yeah, Sony paid a little bit more for Insomniac, I think, which obviously came with like Ratchet. And I guess Sony owned Ratchet and Clank before that. Again, it's an odd one because Square Enix are third party. They've notoriously worked with loads of people. Hell, the second Tomb Raider reboot game was an Xbox exclusive for a year. We've given them shit over that in the past. And yeah, like you said, it seems like they've stripped their assets and basically all of their Western studios and IP have just been handed over to Embracer for, $300 million, Richie.
I mean, should I dive into my theory of why Square Enix are going through this?
I mean, this is going to be the chunk of the episode, ladies and gentlemen, so strap in, enjoy, because there's a lot to it. Go for it.
What I'm thinking, I've got a couple of kind of theories bouncing around in my head at the moment. It's like, one, we look at in the West, we're always looking at this from a Western point of view. We look at something like Tomb Raider and go, really successful game, well beloved. How well does it do over in Japan though? Square Enix ultimately a Japanese publisher. Are the Japanese numbers lower than where they like to be? We've had things like Guardians of the Galaxy, and Outriders and stuff come out and where they went, these haven't met our expectations, and you look at the numbers and go, really? What were your expectations?
Yeah, it seems like.
But we're always thinking that from a Western perspective.
Yeah, they can't catch a break.
If they're tanking in Japan, maybe Square want to focus more on their Japanese things.
Well, Square Enix in particular, like Guardians of the Galaxy was one of my favourite games of last year. But you're completely right. Yeah, it got a price cut almost immediately after launch, and in their annual reviews, they came out and said, "Oh, didn't meet expectations." And you have to wonder, what are their expectations? Because the great thing with this merger is Embracer, kind of in their press statement announcement, they revealed some of the numbers of the franchises. And Tomb Raider, of course, is the flagship. So they broke down specifically on that. According to the timeline, Tomb Raider has sold 88 million units since its inception in 1996, with 38 million of those lifetime sales coming from the reboot trilogy alone, which is, of course, Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and then Eidos handled the Shadow of the Tomb Raider title instead of Crystal. But that's a lot of purchases. So even if you look at those numbers, so the reboot trilogy, 38 million. Richie, you're good at maths. 38 million, putting you on the spot here a little bit, times by, say, what, a £50 game? I can hear your calculator.
Yeah, it's about 2 billion.
Right?
It's 1.9 billion.
Right? That is for one IP, and they paid 300 million for everything. Staff, studios, and everything else in the back catalogue. Up to 50 back catalogue games, albeit a lot of them are probably unknown by today's standards. But that's just one of those has raked in over 2 billion, and yet you pick them up for that. This is the steal of the century almost.
Yeah, my kind of theory is, I'm thinking, are Square wanting to jettison the Western studios to kind of gear themselves up? Either consolidate into the Japanese style games, which, to be fair, I think they're better known for their franchises like Final Fantasy. That's kind of what these are the things that kind of put Square on the map. Dragon Quest, again, another huge seller, but less so in the West. It does better in Japan, these sort of games. Octopath was another one really well received.
Yeah, true.
So could they be looking at going, you know what, we're going to consolidate back to what put us on the map and return to being like the JRPG studio that is known well out through the West?
Certainly. There's a big...
Or the other possible opportunity is to gear themselves up for sale to, say, Sony, for example, another Japanese publisher. But with all the acquisitions, say, Sony have been doing, maybe Sony couldn't afford the whole thing. So by selling off some of the stuff that Sony might not have been as interested in,
I agree.
it might sweeten that deal a bit, make it a bit easier.
That's my suspicion as well, is yes, Sony are looking to... Of course, Sony have a great relationship with Square. Final Fantasy is usually exclusive or timed exclusive. Forspoken is coming out later this year. They've got a great working relationship. And we've said before on the podcast, you specifically have said about companies in Japan like to keep everything very in-house, and they're very respective that way of like family businesses and such, and selling out to an outsider or a consortium or something on a global enterprise, it's not really in their style or tradition. So yes, strip out the Western studios, the Western IP, and does that make it much more plausible for Sony to go, we're in? And that maybe, I think, reading between the lines, is that might be why the price is so cheap, because it's almost like a fire sale. Like they have maybe a timeline to get over the line, a sale to get over the line before a financial year or something, because Sony might be like, look, we want this locked in before this happens or that happens or the next slate of games goes into
before
production.
someone else gets,
or Microsoft,
while Microsoft are too bogged down in trying to get their current acquisitions over the line.
Yeah, completely. So I think it might. I don't think this story's ending quite here.
No. I mean, whatever the end game for this is for Square, this is definitely a period of consolidation for them. Which, going back to the games, this might be a good move actually, because you look at things like, I know Guardians did well, but Avengers pretty much did not do well. They've had a couple of kind of flops recently, or there seem to be a mixed bag at the moment with the Western studios. So it might be a case of like, maybe we're not the guys to kind of really elevate these games to where they should be. Let's focus on what we do well, like consistently well.
There's a
and
lot.
Give it to someone else to take over.
There's a lot to be said with. I do think this signals the end of Avengers. Like, as much as I'd love that game to be supported and have a second life and stuff, I think The IP is probably not cheap to have. I do think the Guardians IP and the Avengers IP, there's probably a lot of financial gain that goes to Disney in there, which might be why they're not as viable, like from a game studio. It's like, oh great, we made this amazing Guardians of the Galaxy game, but 40% goes to Disney for the IP, and then it's like, oh, actually, costs, labor, production, marketing, it might not end up being as profitable as it looks on the success of the game or the ratings.
I mean, Jane Foster is clearly the last hurrah for revenge. I'd be surprised if anything after, because
She-Hulk was like leaked or rumored.
Yeah,
many months
like
ago.
whatever they've got in the pipeline, I think is the end of it. And this is probably, I imagine things like She-Hulk and Jane Foster were probably contractual requirements to sync up with like Marvel's like MCU releases.
Yeah.
So they probably have to, because otherwise the game hasn't done anywhere near where people hoped it would. Mm-hmm. It does have a loyal following, but is that loyal following spending enough money to keep the servers going?
Well,
probably not.
That's true. It does actually raise the interesting question: Avengers, the IP, does Embracer still get to use that? There was a story this week that said actually they are free to renegotiate with Disney. So there's a door open to continue, but the reality is Disney could turn around and go, you know what, we're actually just cut our losses. Embracer, you own them now. Well, you own the studios. We're not going to pressure you to complete a contractual obligation. Like, there's a lot of legalities that are probably going to move around on this chessboard. And I mean, that's just one piece.
When Embracer are buying these, they're buying everything that the studio owns. IP contracts, everything. Mm-hmm. So it will be a case of, if they're supporting Avengers, whatever the contract situation is with Square, will just transfer over to Embracer. Because that's just how it works. You're buying out the contract. You now own that contract and its requirements to you as well as whatever.
Yeah.
But this sale is expected to go through in September. Mm. So September might be the official death of Avengers. Ooh, if that's like, if She-Hulk and Jane Foster are both out by September, maybe that is the end of the contract between them.
Yeah. Shame, but probably quite true.
You never know. Embracer might renegotiate and go, you know what, we want to do another year's worth of content. And Marvel might even
it could be a good booster for the game, actually, if Embracer go like, look, we're not going to put out as much, but we promise to, because I don't think Embracer really have games as a service titles. They are very much single player, smaller AA experiences when we look at some of their other back catalogue. But it is to be said with Embracer, and the kind of the reason I'm quite hopeful of this merger is the reason probably a lot of people out there have, and from the general public, haven't heard of Embracer, is because they don't kind of have a looming, overarching puppeteering narrative. They very much go, we've bought you, do your own thing. We've acquired you, do your own thing.
Embracer don't really brand themselves as Embracer either, because they have different legs. You got things like THQ Nordic, like Saber, Deep Silver, like these kind of almost like publishers within the group.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see where all these former Square studios, what section they'll be in. You mentioned, was it Square Enix Montreal?
Yeah. Gonna have to change the name.
That might become THQ Montreal. So that might go under the THQ banner. So they'll piece this out. This is why outside like video game podcasts, you don't hear people use the word Embracer Group. Mm-hmm. You'll hear THQ Nordic.
Yeah.
Because like THQ Nordic is basically a publisher in itself.
Yeah, true. But they've inherited some fantastic, like Crystal Dynamics, the Tomb Raider reboots, some of my favourite games of the last 10 years. Guardians of the Galaxy, Eidos Montreal, terrific. Square Enix Montreal. These studios are now going to work either with this IP or other IP that have like either brought on board, they're looking to rejuvenate. Of course, Deus Ex is one of the titles that's kind of been put on hiatus since the last release. Not really a thing for me, but now they own the IP and they're kind of free to do what they want, or that's what we anticipate. Like, anything can really happen. My personal kind of hope is that they do just give them free rein to do what you want, because we are at a time, Richie, where it's no surprise that they've been bought out now, because all of these studios are coming off the back of games. Crystal are obviously done with Avengers pretty much. Eidos have just wrapped up on Guardians. I'm not too sure what Square Enix Montreal are doing, but it feels like they've just inherited 3 studios who are ready to take on a new challenge, and what better time to do it than when you've just been bought out and you've been re-energized.
We know there is another Tomb Raider in the works. I think that is with Crystal.
That is with Crystal, yeah. They announced it 2 weeks ago, I think.
Now, the potential downsides of this is, will Embracer throw the same amount of money that Square did at, say, Tomb Raider? or does Tomb Raider run the risk of falling into the category of like a AA franchise rather than being up to AAA? But I don't think that's going to happen because I think Embracer see their future as in AAA development.
Yeah.
So all the AA stuff they've got, I think, is like them, like, we need to find this good base so then we can take the next step, and this might be it. I think Gearbox is probably part of that as well. Buying these studios that are known for making AAA games.
Mm-hmm.
These three new purchases alongside Gearbox might become the crown jewels for Embracer, and really step up.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Then you might get a new Deus Ex, like, because Deus Ex has basically been on hiatus because, again, I don't think it sold well enough.
Think it did either. But plenty of stuff to break down. For me personally, Richie, you know what I would like to see?
What?
Gex. Deep Cover Gecko, or a Gex reboot trilogy, or something along those lines. Because these games, I think, if you're going to take the IP and we look at Embracer, THQ Nordic, they've just put out the SpongeBob remaster. They've put out the Destroy All Humans remaster. The sequel, Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed, is due to come out. And I just think and they've got Time Splitters that they're working on a Time Splitters reboot. This studio's gobbled up all this legacy IP, polished it up, and put it back out. And I would not be surprised in the next 3 to 5 years we see a Gex reboot or remaster of either the original trilogy or a brand new IP with a fun platformer. And I think the world needs that Gecko right now, Richie.
You know what? I actually think Square did re-up their ownership of Gex, but at the time I just thought this is just IP protection. They're just going to re-up their trademarks and whatnot so they still own it. With this move, like, as I've already mentioned, like, Embracer have kind of got known for like doing a lot of AA games. I think Gex, because Gex is usually Crystal Dynamics. Yeah. I think Crystal will look at Gex and go, we don't want to make
it's not really their
this
thing
game
anymore.
But this could be handed down to like a smaller studio in the Embracer group, and then you might get a Gex game out of this. Yeah, I think you are more likely now.
Oh, 100%. They've got so many studios like within their banner, but now they own their IP. Yeah. Like, there's nothing to stop them to like picking up Gex and saying, like, look, Crystal Dynamics, you're obviously used to making AAA Tomb Raider games. However, we have Black Forest Games who are just finishing up on the Destroy All Humans remaster. It's a platformer. It's got that cartoon aesthetic.
Yeah,
there you go.
Right
like,
people.
Yeah, spend 2 years, put out a Gex game, and in a world where Crash Bandicoot and Spyro are now owned by Microsoft instead of Sony, where they started things off, I need this Gecko in my life, Richie. Hashtag SaveTheGecko. Do it, Embracer Group. I love you forever. Yeah.
I think the Gecko, though, it needs a good update. I think he's more of a product of his time than like Spyro and Crash.
I mean, yeah, he's a misogynistic lizard who hangs out with Alicia Silverstone.
They really need to recreate who Gex is as a character for like a new generation. Yeah. So I don't think if Gex is to come back, I don't think it's a remake of the original games. I think it's a new game, because I don't think the remakes would do well. Actually, I think there'll be a lot of bad criticism.
There would be,
not in terms of the gameplay over what that game represents.
There would be, but then if you look at the Crash got its remaster trilogy, Spyro got its remaster trilogy, Destroy All Humans did, SpongeBob did, and I'm like, if you maybe take it and polish it up enough to gauge interest and maybe get some cash in the bank, and then commit to a next gen one. But then again, how much does it take?
It's misogynistic stuff.
Oh, they'll definitely need a
that's the stuff where I'll go, if you're going to do a straight reboot, you need to rework this in a big way. But then will legacy fans like go, oh, it's not my Gex?
Well, that's why you can have it both ways by doing it, because when it's a product of its time, you can kind of get away with it and go, look, that's what it was like back in then. And either way, though, also while we're at green things, give me a Croc remake. I want Legend of the Gobos follow-up.
Isn't that Activision?
It's Fox Interactive published it, and it was made by Argonaut Software. So I have no clue if they even exist anymore. But that IP's out there for the pick in Embracer, so get to it.
If you know who owns the IP for Croc, let us know in the comments, because we have no idea.
Exactly. But looking again, continuing to this story, we've said about the IP, Tomb Raider, obviously the biggest one, Deus Ex, and a bunch of other things. Interestingly enough, though, Square Enix have retained Life is Strange and Just Cause. So, yes, they've pilfered some of their IP, but some of they're also their kind of bigger ones. Of course, Just Cause 4 was out a while ago, so there might be a 5 in the works somewhere. Life is Strange just had its kind of biggest entry to date drop last autumn, which actually is available on Stadia, we should point out. There's a full playthrough up on our channel. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Had a great time. Don't really remember much of the story now. I'm several months detached, but it's interesting that as a note to investors, they said, yes, we're not scrapping all of our Western business entirely. We're going to keep it as Square Enix. But what do you make of this one?
So I have two theories on this. One is these games that you just listed might potentially not. These are developed by non-Square Enix owned studios. So while Square Enix were the publisher, they didn't develop themselves. So it might be a case of they don't own the full rights to it. So it might be a case of these are not part of the deal because Square Enix can unilaterally make that deal. The second one is tinfoil hats here. Sony potentially sniffing around Square, as I mentioned earlier, as Square consolidating their business in order to potentially sell themselves to Sony. Are these the games that Sony have kind of more interested in? You would have thought maybe they might be interested in Tomb Raider, but Tomb Raider is pretty much directly in competition with Uncharted, so Sony might go, we don't need Tomb Raider. We have Uncharted. We can make a Tomb Raider style game with our already beloved IP, so we don't need that. Where Just Cause, I'm not really a fan, but Sony might go, you know what, it's a money spinner, we'll have that. Life is Strange, critically acclaimed, we'll have that.
Yeah,
this is all potential, like how I could see it going, but I think it's more likely Square seem to have just done this, try to get this done quick and on the cheap for consolidation reasons. And it's like, we don't own Life is Strange, we don't own Just Cause, put them aside, sell what we can. Yeah,
it is a kind of all over the place because Just Cause was published, but it was developed by Avalanche, and then you've got. Well, actually, we haven't even mentioned. You've got Outriders as well, which we played this week. Yeah. Outriders is published by Square Enix, but it's developed by People Can Fly, who are the ex-Gears of War team. And yeah, you said Life is Strange was Dontnod/Deck9, who I believe were bought out as well. Some point recently, they moved to somebody as well. But it's a lot of plate spinning, a lot of moving going on. But you're totally right. I think a publishing deal compared to actually fully owning and producing is different. Other unconfirmed reports as of now, Sleeping Dogs, I know, is another fan favourite. It hasn't had a sequel yet, but I know that's like a Grand Theft Auto inspired kind of well-reviewed, well-revered game. You've got Soul Reaver that they keep trying to make happen. Is it Legacy of Kain? I think we said pre-show, which was like, I personally have no care for that game. I know it's well-revered, but it's so relevant.
I must admit, I've never played it. I've heard the name banded around. I had to do a bit of Googling. I think the last entry was 2003. I don't expect a new game anytime soon. I mean, was this one of the ones that Square have retained?
Nobody knows. It's like unreported. So this is it. They said 50 games, but there's no definitive kind of like breakdown list of what exactly there is yet.
If this goes to Embracer, I can see it being Embracer going, you know what, it's a beloved IP. I'm assuming it's a beloved IP. I generally don't know much about it. We can reboot this franchise. If it stays with Square, I think it's still dead.
Yeah. Interesting. Legacy of Kain is one of those ones that Amy Hennig worked on before she moved on to the Uncharted team. So it's that kind of like, it's revered, I think, because of her status.
Yeah.
And that goes back to like, well, she's just doing the Star Wars game, and so she's tied up with her own stuff with Skydance. But at the same time, like, it's so old now. At what point does an IP just become too old that nobody really cares about it anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes if like the last game in series was poorly received, and that's what's caused it to like, okay, we're going to put this on hiatus. Having a good length of time, we're talking like 20 years almost at this point since the last entry. It might be due for a reboot for like a new generation. Let's just relaunch the game, start again, take the IP, take a lot of the lore, and make a modern game out of it. There's absolutely no reason why a game like that can't do well.
Certainly isn't. Reading from the direct post on the Embracer Group's website as well, and I quote, "We are thrilled to welcome these studios into the Embracer Group. We recognise the fantastic IP, world-class creative talent, and a track record of excellence that has been demonstrated time and time again over the past decades. It has been a great pleasure meeting the leadership team and discussing future plans of how they can realise their ambitions and become a great part of Embracer. And that was followed up by the Square Enix of America in Europe CEO. He said, Embracer is the best kept secret in gaming, a massive decentralized collection of entrepreneurs who are willing and thrilled to be a part of today. It's the perfect fit for our ambition, making high quality games with great people, sustainability, and grow our existing franchises to their best versions ever. Embracer allows us to forge new partnerships across all media to maximize our franchises' potential and live our dreams of making extraordinary entertainment. So it seems like quite a happy merger as well. It doesn't seem like there's anyone on any front who's like, oh no, it's a hostile takeover. Oh, they've bought us out. We didn't really want to be sold, but our shareholders decided. And it just, again, it goes back to this rationale of Embracer Group of just like, yeah, we want to bring all this IP under our umbrella, but you can just do your own thing still. Like, crack on with all the stuff you've been doing, Crystal. Go for it. I'd
imagine some of the guys in these studios that are getting sold from Square have picked up the phone and rang some of the colleagues over at THQ and Deep Silver and places like, what's it like working for these guys? Mm-hmm. And if they've heard good things, like, all right, yeah, fine.
Fine, go for it.
As long as we can still keep making the games we're passionate about making. Like, in the end of the day, I think it comes to a point when, if you're developers, like, do you really care who owns the company you're working for, as long as you're able to produce the work that you want to produce?
Well, yeah, that's completely true. Yeah. Reading on further, they say Embracer believes there will be an increasingly strong demand for high-quality content, including AAA single-player games, over the decade. We aim to continue working with leading platforms and license holders on to form deeper strategic relationships with a handful of leading companies in the industry. Furthermore, synergies across Embracer ecosystems benefit from our people and companies. Our approach is that quality comes first in game development, which is why we believe our decentralized operating model of empowering management teams while facilitating synergy positions Embracer for long-term success. So yeah, who knows? Like I think we've covered this a few times on the podcast when they've picked up studios in the past. It's kind of like they're just getting bigger and bigger. And who is this guy? We actually did a bit of research on the owner. I don't know if we actually did it on a show. We just did it out of interest ourselves. But we will be breaking this all down. I think we should point out our SideQuest episode this week is already set up. It's already stacked. It's ready to go. And we'll be breaking down all of Embracer's purchases, where their origins came from, their intentions, some of their IP that they own, and more importantly, what that could mean for Google Stadia as well. So I think it's key to getting that a lot of the IP that we've discussed now and what we'll go and discuss on SideQuest is very, I'd say, probably beneficial for Stadia, realistically. If all of Square Enix was snapped up by Sony, everything's off the table. Yeah. So we'll go into all that. And remember, our Helix Heroes out there, our members of the YouTube channel, if you click join below, you get that episode up to 6 days early. So at the time of listening to this, it's available now. Go fill your boots.
Finish listening to this podcast or watching it, then head over to SideQuest for the rest of our take on the Embracer Group.
That's all there is for Embracer at the moment. Go check out that episode of SideQuest if you want to know our deeper thoughts on everything that it means, from Avengers to Stadia to IP, Life is Strange, and all the crazy purchases they made and what they're probably going to make in the future months, years to come. It's exciting stuff to see. Speaking of, Richie, exciting stuff to see. All stuff that we hope to see. I saw this new story drop this week. I had a bunch of people reach out to me and tag me and say, look at this, Chris, look at this. And I'm sure when you saw the story, you had a little chuckle.
I'm genuinely surprised you didn't just put this as the lead story just for the memes.
It doesn't deserve the story. It doesn't deserve it. Reading from Kotaku, apparently the boss, the head honcho over at Hangar 13, who make the Mafia franchise of games, is stepping down. So the Mafia 3 remake, after 7 years at the studio, 2K announced on Wednesday, the publisher wrote in an email that the former LucasArts veteran is going to pursue a passion and a new endeavour. And he didn't quote, but I've heard it, Richie, that he said he was annoyed that the port to Stadia has taken so damn long that he's leaving. That's it. He's threw his book down and said, those passionate gamers out there on Google Stadia have been waiting for so long for this damn game to arrive on their platform. And we teased them, Richie. We teased them a little bit by giving them Mafia 3.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, we haven't teased them. We've been giving them shit for a year.
We have, rightly so. I should point out as well, that's not a direct quote from from Hayden Blackman, who's just left Hangar 13. But it does reignite once again, Richie, my I guess, what is it, distaste anymore? Disdain?
Disdain,
do I class it as? Now, for those who don't know, for the long listening viewers, we were excited to announce the Mafia Definitive Edition was coming to Stadia years ago at this point.
Yeah, we're looking to like probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. Like that news broke that it was like the Mafia trilogy was coming to Stadia.
Oh, Richie, if you want specific dates, you know I'm your guy to bring you that information.
What's the dates?
So yes, and again, we just bring this up because we should probably get to the news before I go off on another one of my little rants. It's been a while. It has been a while. But yes, as part of this story, we're apparently also finding out that there is a Mafia 4 in the works as well. So you got 1, you got 2, you got 3, then you got a definitive edition of 1, then you got a remaster of 3, or whatever the hell it looks like now. Of course, this Grand Theft Auto spin-off clone, Mafia-inspired edition, whatever you want to call it. There's a new one in the works, and it's going to be using the same engine, the Unreal 5 engine, is the plan. So the same one that they helped make... the Mafia Remake was done in their own in-house engine. They're switching to Unreal 5 for this one instead of using that one. So it's a brand new engine. They've got apparently 30 years leadership experience. There's new leadership in place. This guy's left. Of course, I'm guessing the Mafia trilogy remaster, whatever it looked like, sold quite well through its 2021 release. I think it was 2020 maybe. I can't remember. But either way, there's a new game in the works. We don't know anything about it yet, but you know what? It doesn't matter, Richie, because here as Google Stadia players, we probably won't see this until 2077, when Cyberpunk is a reality and we're all living in a futuristic world with cybernetics installed in our arms. Because, to recap for the dates, Mafia was teased by the Hangar 13 team and 2K and Stadia 724 days ago. 724 days ago, you teased this game was coming to the platform. To add salt into the wound, Richie, the definitive edition released on other platforms 25th of September 2020, the height of the global pandemic, 589 days ago. This game came out on PlayStation and Xbox nearly 600 days ago, ladies and gentlemen. 600 days ago. And since then, have we heard anything other than, yes, we got 3 came out, and they said something or dodgy in their tweets about, here you go, you can have it as pro, stop asking now. You told us there was 3 games coming. Not 1, 3. Definitive edition. And to add another odd little spin on this as well, Hangar 13, the studio who are developing this, I know, again, don't at me, people, I know this was outsourced possibly to a porting studio, so it's not necessarily Hangar 13 who are working on the Stadia port. It's their game still. They haven't tweeted since October 2021, which for a public-facing entity with social media accounts, to not say anything since before Halloween last year, that's a bit odd as well.
For me, it's not necessarily... I mean, you're touching on it at the end there. For me, the length of time this is taking to come is not necessarily the problem. It's the lack of communication alongside that. It's like, we're getting close. We're coming up to 2 years, and they haven't... Like, if it's... Yeah, okay, we're having problems getting it working well on Stadia hardware. We're still working on things, or we've had a few issues here and there. If they kind of get once every couple of months, are giving us like just a simple update and going, "Hey guys, it is still coming. Don't worry, we are still working on it. We're just trying to figure out these issues." They don't even need to give us specifics. If they just acknowledged the fact that they announced it was coming and it's not here yet. Mm-hmm. And just go, look, guys, don't worry, it is still coming. It will be there when it's ready.
Yeah, and
it's a little thing. Like, just acknowledge, or if it's not coming anymore, just have the balls to tear and go, it's not coming anymore, guys. It's not coming anymore. We've been working on it for a while. It's just costing us too much money. We don't think we're going to see return on investment. We've canned it. Just be honest.
It's just an absolute mess, really, isn't it? From all fronts. Part of me thinks. Someone somewhere just thinks now 3's out, they'll think that's like everyone will forget they announced the definitive edition, and it'll just be like, oh, we gave you 3, there you go.
I want to put this out there as well. This is not just on Hangar 13. Google should be knocking on the door going, what the fuck?
Yeah, we paid you, I'm guessing, in some
This
degree.
is making Google Stadia look bad because, I mean, it's making Google Stadia players get annoyed because they feel like almost second-class citizens in a way. Like, oh, we don't, because we play on this platform, we don't get the games for years after release.
Yeah. That's the biggest part. It's the fact that it came out on other platforms 589 days ago. So it's not like a few months delay. This is well over a year and a half now. And I know a lot of our viewers and listeners are parents out there. If you go to your kid now and say, hey, little Timmy, I'll take you to McDonald's soon, don't worry. And then you make them wait 589 days to take them for a damn Happy Meal. They're nearly an adult by the time you take them.
By this time, little Timmy's 24. It's like, why are you buying me a Happy Meal? Like,
yeah. Thanks, Dad.
I went to McDonald's yesterday for lunch. Like, got a Big Mac.
It's just...
Oh, I promised you a Happy Meal, Timmy. It's Thomas now.
It's like, yeah, stop going by my childhood nickname. It really just is. It's a shit show on all fronts. To wrap up that story, Richie, because again, we don't want to give them any more time. They don't deserve it. They don't give us the time of day. Don't reply to my tweets when I tag them in it. Don't reply to audience tweets who ask about and inquire. I just want some damn clarity on where this game is. And I, for one, I won't be playing it. I don't give two shits anymore. Like what did I say last time? They can just... something in the 1940s or something. I won't repeat it here. Go fuck yourself in the 1940s or something like that. Yeah. But the reality is, do you think we'll see the definitive edition before Mafia 4, Richie? Or do you think this franchise is just dead to the world on Stadia?
I think it's dead to the world on Stadia.
There you go, folks. You heard it here.
I mean, Stadia seemed to not be like pushing anything at the moment, like even close to AAA. So, and this has been so long in the works. I mean, as I said, I don't think Stadia knocking on the door asking what the hell. It reminds me of a story we covered a few weeks back where like the developer said like the port's kind of just stuck in like limbo. Like they don't know what's going on. They've pushed it out there and it's just nothing's happening. It feels like another one of them. Is this just stuck in the ether somewhere and no one involved is taking any responsibility for it? So it's just stopped.
If it turns out that this was actually sent for certification 523 days ago, and it's just stuck in it, waiting for someone to open an email or log into a particular back-end Stadia thing and go, oh yeah, game runs fine, submit, and then it just gets released imminently. I mean,
in that situation, it makes you wonder. It's like, how do these situations happen? Because someone surely is overseeing it. I mean, if a game's going for like certification, I'd expect someone from Google and someone from, like, in this case, Hangar 13 to keep an eye on it. And going, okay, it's in certification. Then after a couple of weeks, maybe you check back and go, why isn't this moving?
I mean, yeah.
Do you pick up the phone? Hey, Tim Google, do you know anything? It's like, no, I don't. It's like, okay, I'll look into it, and I'll brief you when I know more. Yeah, it's like, work together.
We're all like most people who watch this. I'm sure you've got some kind of jobs that require communication back and forth. Your job, Richie, my job. You have a project. You have emails that go back and forth. There's deadlines set. Is a business that involves money, investors, employees, and like eventually something has to happen where you say, right, this project's either dead in the water or what the hell. Like someone needs to take responsibility for what the hell is going on because it's just ridiculous. It really, really is.
I mean, quite literally yesterday, I briefed our production team, which I'm not part of the production team, on one of my projects. Just to know it's coming, they're expecting it at some point. And when, all right, pretty much all the documentation's done. We're just waiting on a few things businessy to kind of confirmation before I can actually push these documents for review. It's like, so I'm sitting on it, but I'm sitting on it waiting for decisions above me to happen.
Exactly.
So, like, there you go. Now you know.
So, folks, if you're interested in playing Mafia 4, it's available on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC at some point in the near future, in the years to come, because I certainly don't think it'll be coming to Stadia. Pivoting away, though, Richie, let's get back onto some positive news. The summer is imminently upon us. The weather's getting nicer. Everyone's booking their holidays. You and me are heading off to Poland in the near future, in the mere weeks to come, exactly. Cannot wait to get on a plane for the first time. But before we do all that, we will have to tune in for Jeff Keighley and his Summer Game Fest, because he's announced this week it's back. We've got a date, ladies and gentlemen, Thursday, the 9th of June. 7 p.m. UK time, 11 a.m. Pacific, and 2 p.m. Eastern. Summer Games Fest will return with Jeff Keighley hosting, a star-studded cast with indie developers, AAA, across the industry, showcasing announcements, reveals, and gameplay of what the future of video games holds. I'm excited. It's no longer spread out across 4 months this time. It's been condensed down, which I'm so glad about. And even better for us, Richie, it's at a reasonable time. It's going to be 7 p.m. in the afternoon, so you and me can actually sit down after work, maybe crack open a beer, watch along with you, the lovely audience out there, and see what exciting games are in the future, because we know this industry is all about hype. We like to know what's next. Summer Games Fest will give us a roadmap with dates, studios, platforms. I can't wait.
I'd argue it's better for us than the guys over in the US, because it's in the middle of the day for them. It's after work for us, so
true.
We can, as you mentioned, we can literally not even rush around to get the stream together. Because sometimes when we get 5 o'clock things, like we're literally rushing around trying to get out of work early to get going. Like there's been times I think you've actually had the stream running and then I've turned up late because I couldn't get out of work.
Yeah,
but
we should point out though, Summer Games Fest, can't wait for it. It feels like it's been a while since we got.
It's been a year.
Not Summer Games Fest since we had like a showcase to look forward to. Like we had the Game Awards back in December, but that was like 6 months ago now.
I think, was that the last thing we covered? Actually, it might be.
It was part. Well, again, it was over 4 months, wasn't it? So it was kind of, we covered it when and if we did the Koch Media coverage.
Was that before? Game Awards?
It was kind of part of it. It was it was before Game Awards. It was last summer.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Is Game Awards the last
big thing?
Big thing that we actually have covered?
Yeah, there was the Ubisoft Forward we did, here in the room, because Tom was here. We sat on my couch for the first time and broadcasted that way. Then we did.
That was like the summer though.
Yeah,
that was part of Summer Games Fest.
Yeah. So Game Awards was the last big thing we covered. So we'll see what all that's about. But just as a nice little quiz for you, Richie, before you do any research, can you remember what was announced at last year's Summer Games Fest off the top of your head?
Well, I mean, it lasted for about 6 months, so it's quite.
The opening night live, I should say then, to be specific.
Opening night live. I absolutely have no recollection of it. So
Jeff got on screen. We got Elden Ring gameplay.
Yes, we
got
did,
Tiny Tina's.
I think Elden Ring was the biggest thing, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. We got Tiny Tina's Wonderlands was announced, coming early 2022, and they've since met that date. We got the Death Stranding Director's Cut, which, if you remember, it was Norman Reedus getting in the box, like the Metal Gear Solid Ode. And we
were like, get Horizon?
I don't think there's any PlayStation there. It was all, because they've done their own conference, or showcase, I guess. There was the Koch Media, Back for Blood. There was some Xbox stuff, Tales of Arise. Jeff Goldblum was there. He announced Jurassic World Evolution 2. Because if I recall, you and me were thinking, is it a new Jurassic World game? Like, what is it? This could be cool. You specifically said the graphics look gorgeous. And then it ended up being just a sequel to Jurassic World, which I thought was a surprise. Anna Crucis.
Still looks gorgeous.
Metal Slug Tactics. There's some Lost Ark gameplay, some Call of Duty stuff, as always. Salt and Sacrifice was announced.
I'm just blank on Salt and Sacrifice here. I don't think I've heard anything from it since.
2 Point Campus was one of the things. I'm just looking through. Fast and the Furious DLC for Rocket League. Bloodhunt trailer. I do remember that one. Planet of Lana, which was a nice little indie game. But yeah, there's plenty of stuff to look at. Loads of indie stuff as well. And obviously, this year, I'm hoping it just brings some new excitements. I don't recall if we had any Stadia presence. I'd have to go back and watch it to...
I don't think we did.
It was sponsored by Prime Gaming, so it was very Amazon influenced. But so Richie, Summer Games Fest. We'll unless something drastically comes up and we're not able to, we will be covering it here on the channel. We'd love you to join us for that. So keep it locked to our social feeds at Helix Cloud Games to be kept in the loop when that goes live. And if you click that bell down below, that too will keep you in tune with all of our news. But exciting, Richie. I loved E3, and now we don't have E3. This is kind of like the next best thing, I guess. We know Xbox have got a showcase. We know this is happening now. I've got to count on PlayStation coming through with something, because after God of War, we really don't know what the future holds for them either.
Yeah, I think we're ready. I think we are ready for Sony, because as well, like last year, Sony launched the PS. Was it last year? No, it was the year before.
Yeah, exactly.
like the launch of PS5, and we haven't really seen too much in the works for what they've got going forward.
God, it was the last of like their bulk announcements from several years ago we actually know about, so we don't know about anything like what a lot of the studios working on. But we digress. Richie, is this the time we see a Stadia Connect?
No,
I don't think so either.
I'm sorry. I'd love to say yes, but there's nothing about the last 18 months, well, especially 12 months, that's made me think that Connect is even in conversation at Google. Like, they just don't seem to be doing anything to really push the platform, unfortunately.
Because last year we'll have sat down and said...
it sucks to say that, but...
Yeah, it's the truth. Last year we sat down and said, like, oh, will they be at Summer Game Fest? And then we had nothing all last year, so... It goes back to it needs an overhaul, a reboot, a rehash. They need to do something. And a big part of that would be announcing a presence with announcements at Summer Games Fest. Speak to Jeff Keighley, Phil, Harrison, get out your hall, go speak to Jeff, slide into his DMs, do what you need to do.
I don't think it'd even be that difficult. It's just
it wouldn't. It's a digital event.
Give him a call. Go, hey, Jeff, we're doing... Phil from Google here. Yeah.
I know
still
you.
alive.
Yeah.
Still alive. You know me. Google Stadia, still alive, not technically dead. We're going to do Connect. We're going to go big to really push the platform. We want it in on Games Fest, and Jeff probably go like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'll give you what time frame you want. What money are we talking?
What you're looking? Yeah. Let's talk. Let's start talking the details.
Yeah.
I can't see Jeff being gone.
No. And again, this is what we said from day one. How do you leverage that? We'll give you ad space for Summer Games Fest on YouTube ads. Yeah. Anyone who's clicking gaming content across YouTube the week leading up to it will drop a Game Fest ad. How much more eyes will that bring to Games Fest than Jeff's marketing campaign? And then that's the leverage that just YouTube and Alphabet and Google just don't utilise. But we'll put a pin in that, Richie. Summer isn't quite here yet, but it's crazy to think it's just next month. Yeah. Which is insane.
We might do a SideQuest, I think, just on the run up to what our expectations are.
Our predictions episodes are always fun. But I tell you what, I will predict won't be there. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, because this game needs some more time, Richie. It needs some more time. That's right. Ubisoft's troubled Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake has switched developers, and it's going to release apparently when it's ready. So Ubisoft have announced this past week that the troubled game, which was originally due to release January last year, has been moved to a new studio. It's been taken away, I should say, from the two fairly new Ubisoft teams. It was being made by Ubisoft Pune and Ubisoft Mumbai. It's now being handed over to the... why can't I see it in the article? Help me.
Is it Montreal?
Is it Montreal? There's so many references of Ubisoft in this article. It's actually hard to pinpoint. Ubisoft. No, that's the Mumbai one again. Either way, Montreal. There it is. It's split sentence. My bad.
My memory works.
It's Ubisoft on one end of a sentence, and then the next line is Montreal. So my eye scanning across the article can't put the two words together. But yes, Ubisoft Montreal are going, which ironically was the original studio who did Sands of Time trilogy. So it's just gone full circle basically, and. I'm a Prince of Persia fan. I love to go back and play one of these games. It's been so long. One of the original games, funny story, I'm sure I've said already before, I actually couldn't figure out one of the puzzles, so just took it back and got a refund as a kid. Like, I just thought I'd rather have the money back rather than... there was no internet to get the answer, so I just got stuck. I think I restarted the level, got to the same point, couldn't solve the puzzle. I thought the game was glitched. I just took it back with my receipt and said, I don't want this anymore, got my money back.
In a way, I feel a bit sorry for the Pune and Mumbai teams at Ubisoft, because Ubisoft should never have let that trailer go out, because it's clearly not up to standard. So you're just kind of putting pressure, especially the new studios as well. You're putting pressure on new studios that just didn't need to be there. It's one of them. It should have been a case of going, guys, this isn't good enough. Go back, crack on it. Yeah, crack on. We give them. I think again with them being new studios, I think Ubisoft have given them okay, remake this is going to be a first big thing for us. Mm-hmm. Maybe they should have done a bit more time as maybe working as a support studio or something. Like maybe have Montreal lead this and have them working as a support studios to kind of get that eye in for the level of quality and expectations.
Yeah.
But again, I really don't think Ubisoft. I mean, if it was me, if I was Yves Guillemot at the head of Ubisoft, and I was saw that trailer and went, "That's not in it. That's not in the forward.
Yeah.
Take it back.
Was it?
Like,
Yeah.
it's not ready. We're not ready. If this is a standard at the moment, we're not ready to announce this game."
It is quite crazy to think how long it's taking. And of course, the longer it takes, the more money gets invested into it. And then it's like, do we make it bigger? Do we commit to it? Do we just put it out? And then obviously the impact on the brand, the IP, and of course Ubisoft are going through some troubling times right now. So it's all a whole thing. I'll wrap this up by just reading out the quote from the Twitter post out. "Hello, Prince of Persia fans. The development of Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time remake, will now be led by Ubisoft Montreal." I should have read this to start with, Richie. It's right there at the beginning.
Probably, yeah.
This decision is an important step in the team building upon the work achieved by Ubisoft Pune and Ubisoft Mumbai. Will now take the time to regroup the scope of the game to deliver you the best experience for this remake and an all-time classic when it's ready. Thanks for continuous support, patience through development. Rest assured that we will update you on the progress as a future update. So we will wait for that future update, Richie. So let's pivot. Yeah. Let's pivot away to another game which you and me have been super excited for coming to the platform. Overcooked All You Can Eat. It's available now. It came out this week with a pro discount. So if you are interested in it, pick it up while it's on discount. You and me have both bought it, Richie. So we're going to be 100% guaranteed playing it on a live stream at some point in the near future.
Yep.
So look out for that one, of course. The game that combines both Overcooked 1, Overcooked 2, all the DLC and characters released. We can't wait. It's a great game. If you've never played it, fantastic couch co-op. Anyone who's got kids out there, it's so fun to have. Anyone who's got loved ones out there, don't play it with them. You will break up. But in terms of the game itself, typical teething issues that have came with the launch of the Google Stadia version, Richie. And let's see, where do we start with this one? So, Google posted out this week regarding the game, saying that it comes with cross-play online adventure. Play with people through cross-play on multiple platforms. To which many people replied to them and said, excuse me. Actually, I'll read the full thing, actually. So, their initial post, May the 5th, nothing to do with Star Wars. Who's hungry? Overcooked All You Can Eat is now available on Stadia. Enjoy all kitchens in online cross-platform multiplayer and pick your sous chef of choice no matter what platform they play on. This is the ultimate Overcooked experience. That is like the worst possible post for something that here's the news story, everyone.
They're leaning heavy into cross-platform in this tweet.
Yeah. And like the big news, is it is not cross-platform. This game does not have cross-platform. To which, obviously, everyone who bought the game and then booted it up wanted to play maybe with their PlayStation friends, their Xbox, their Nintendo Switch friends. It isn't a thing. But again, this is like just classic. We've been covering Google Stadia, guys, for 137 weeks. The number's right down below me. Richie.
They do this shit all the time. It's like, who is proofreading this? Like, does anyone at Google... Did anyone at Google check? Because Overcooked is cross-platform. Mm-hmm. Just not with Stadia. Did anyone at Stadia check that it was cross-platform? Did anyone speak to Team 17 just to confirm it is cross-platform on Stadia? And the Team 17 guys will go, no. You said to bring the game. That's it. You've brought the game.
Yeah.
And just recheck your work before you publish it to the world.
It's just like
disappointing.
It's naive and it's amateurish. This is a professional company backed by billions and billions of dollars, and they can't proofread a tweet. More importantly, boot the game up and damn check it, because I guarantee you, everyone who bought it will be doing that, and they can find that answer out in seconds. But you know what makes it worse, Richie? What makes it worse is, of course, everyone tweeted and replied them and said, crossplay? ? Are you sure this game comes with crossplay? Let me read one of the replies to our good friend Two-Bag. Crossplay indeed? ? The reply, hey there, thanks for reaching out. We absolutely embrace crossplay for all multiplayer games. However, it's up to the publishers of each game to determine the compatibility. We'd suggest reaching out to Team 17 for more details. We're here to help if you have any other questions. Before you get into that, Richie, let me just go back to their initial post. Enjoy all kitchens in online cross-platform multiplayer. Pick your sous chef of choice, no matter what platform they play on. Go back to their reply. we embrace crossplay for multiplayer games. However, it's up to the publisher. Like, this is like hit your head off a table kinds of stupidity here.
It's one of them. What they're saying in the response here is technically true. Like, Stadia, we're open to crossplay. It's kind of not on us to make sure it's in there, but it is also fucking on you to make sure it's in there. If you're saying it's there, like, yeah, it might be up to Team 17 to make that ultimate decision. But well, why don't you take that decision? Go, if you bring this, it needs to have crossplay. Just tell them, go, we want you to have crossplay in this game. Instead of going, we're open to it, just drive it. Go, it's a multiplayer game.
Yeah,
do you have crossplay in it? Yep, crossplay in Stadia as well as part of the fucking contract.
It's just daft, isn't it? Like, looking and
you're
again,
embarrassing yourself at this point.
It's kind of compounded even more when they just naively reply and say, "Oh well, we support it." It's like, yeah, we know you're literally posting about crossplay in your sales pitch of this game for people to buy it. It's mismarketing. It's false advertising. And then your replies are just your generic contact. You pass the buck straight on to the publishers. But again, as the owner of the platform, it's your responsibility to ensure quality control is kept there. And again, Dr. StreamX replies saying, I would get fired if I answered a question like that. Unacceptable. Correct answer should have been, let's find out from the developer. We'll update you on the details. Which, he's not wrong. He's not wrong at all.
Take some fucking responsibility.
It's so bad. And then again, just go find the post, read through the comments, because again, it's just people after people saying, what's going on? And you've got to honestly laugh at it. And these are the points where if anyone still defends Stadia at this point and says, oh, well, it's on the developers and stuff, it can't all be on the developers. This is a game. Like, imagine if you put Call of Duty out, not that it's ever coming, but imagine if you put Call of Duty out and it didn't have the multiplayer side. We embrace multiplayer, but it's part of the game.
This is the thing. Like, it's well known that numbers of people on Stadia is lower than it needs to be to support multiplayer games well. So Google Stadia needs crossplay. So instead of Google being open to it, drive it. Go to Team 17 and in the contract to bring this game, go, right, okay, you guys are clearly open to crossplay. You got crossplay on other platforms. That's a milestone you have to hit for Stadia. And I imagine Team 17 will probably go like, yeah, all right. Because it's not to Team 17's detriment to have it as crossplay. It's like, it's actually, the only detriment crossplay has is to basically Sony, Microsoft, because it means that people can play games that they want you to play on their platform on a different ecosystem. Where, like, for a smaller for any publishers, like, I don't care I don't care where you play my game. I just want you to play it. And if I only have one like pool of players rather than like 8, that means my multiplayer experience isn't getting fractured, especially if the numbers are relatively low. Because Overcooked, while it's beloved, isn't like probably the most active game ever. Yeah. So if you have one pool, that's better for Team 17. Yeah. Like, so Google, like, why just stop saying we're open to it and just really just. No, if it's a multiplayer game and it has crossplay, it has to be crossplay in Stadia. That should be just the rule, like a standard line in your contracts. Yeah, like
it really should be. And again, it goes back to quality control. We can confirm as well, Team 17, who obviously did get tweeted at after this, they have actually replied, and I'll read from the tweet. Hello, thanks for getting in touch with us. Unfortunately, Overcooked All You Can Eat will not have crossplay features on Stadia. If you have any more questions, don't hesitate to get in touch. So, it's not coming. It's not getting crossplay. And if we go back to the original tweet, I'll read it one last time for those at the back. Enjoy all kitchens in online cross-platform multiplayer and pick your sous chef of choice no matter what platform they play on. This is the ultimate Overcooked experience. And quite frankly, it's now the probably worst Overcooked experience because it's mismarketed. If you bought it with that, and again, Richie, we keep saying it, but whoever keeps copying and pasting these descriptions from Steam or Epic or GOG or whatever damn website you find it, proofread it, check your facts, and do your job. It's absolutely embarrassing. If this is your job, you're not doing it right.
I don't even want to put this entirely on whoever is like physically sending out the tweet. Who is that person responsible to as well? Because this happens too often to just blame the guy sending out the tweet who's proofreading the tweets and going, is this definitely got crossplay? Because that's the selling point in this tweet. Does it have it?
I mean, the tweet's still up.
Yeah.
So
have you checked that this has crossplay? Yes, no.
Yeah. So at the time of recording, we're now two days past the fact, with no doubt plenty of replies saying doesn't have crossplay. Where's crossplay? Even Team 17 said, yeah, this game doesn't have crossplay. The people who make the game have replied on this thread saying the game will not have crossplay features on Stadia. And the headline still says online cross-platform multiplayer. Hit the three dots, click delete, and repost it with the correct terminology and factual advertising in place. This cannot be defended. It's embarrassing.
No.
It really, really is.
Shall we move on? Because we're just ranting in circles at this point.
We are ranting in circles. But you know what? If we were wrong, Richie, guess what we'll do on next week's episode? We'll put out a retraction and we'll say, yeah, sorry, we got it wrong. We're only human. We understand everyone's only human, but that doesn't mean you can't make up for your mistakes and do some quality control on your platform that people are clearly passionate about. Speaking of crossplay, let's pivot away to a happier story. FIFA22 will be getting some crossplay. In fact, it's live now, I should say. Ironically enough, speaking of crossplay, EA has announced that crossplay will be held on FIFA 22 for all players across PlayStation 5, Series X and S, and Google Stadia. Richie, this is only going to be limited to online season, online friendly modes, and other such, but play against your rivals or friends regardless of their console. That's part of the notes that have came out. It's just like patch updates and stuff from the developers. This would suggest that FIFA 23 might launch with crossplay later this year. Of course, we'll probably get FIFA 23 September. I think it's usually back end of September, start of October is the cadence for release of these sports titles, in line with the new football season here in the UK. Key things are, one, will we see it on Stadia? We don't know that answer yet. But two, this is very promising for EA and FIFA, and more importantly Stadia, because as we've just alluded to with the crossplay stories, it can be quite make or break for a particular game. What does this mean for you?
Well, I'm someone who I'm career mode purist here, so FIFA not having crossplay personally doesn't affect me in the slightest. But I'm very much aware that I'm in the minority when it comes to FIFA, and a lot of people do jump in online. This is the biggest element of FIFA nowadays, rather than a career mode. And I think it having crossplay is fantastic. I generally I 100% back crossplay in all scenarios.
You sound like
because as I mentioned before when talking about Overcooked, like if you have one pool of players rather than like fragmenting that same number of players by platforms, that's just better for the game, and that's good. So it's better for players. It means that if like you don't have this choice, have to make, and it moves us away from the console wars where, well, I want to play FIFA with my friends, but they're on Xbox, I prefer Sony, so well, I can't. But now I can. And it's everyone's happy. It's better for the industry as a whole. It might be slightly worse for, as I mentioned, Microsoft, Sony, because it doesn't force, because the console war just kind of force people one way or the other. But I don't know. I don't think I'm going to say I don't expect this to come to Stadia until it's announced that it's coming. Yeah,
that's for me is going to be a big make or break for this year. If they announce FIFA 23, we know the rule of 5 is broken. The spell is broken, Richie, and we'll be getting new titles, which opens up the door to loads of other franchises coming along, Jedi Fallen Order sequels and the like, and more importantly, AAA support from a big third party, which I think is definitely needed right now outside of Ubisoft. But it's good to know your stance, Richie. It's good to know you absolutely embrace crossplay for multiplayer games, even if it is up to the publisher to determine that compatibility. So thank you
I don't think it should be up to the publisher. I think it should be up to Stadia to guarantee it.
Thank you very much. But yes, I think exciting stuff on the FIFA front. I think it might totally rejuvenate it on the platform, and again make people realise that playing football, sports, soccer games on the move on your phone and stuff, and having access to your FUT Ultimate teams on the move is a huge selling point, and it really needs to be embraced. And hopefully if FIFA 23 launches with that, it could be a big driver for the platform.
Yeah, if you're listening, cross progression as well.
Oh yeah. I would play a lot more with cross progression because I just bounce around from everywhere.
It's better for EA Play because then people can play on different platforms without having to purchase again.
Exactly. Yeah, see, marketing man over here, marketing man. But that might come even better, Richie, with our next story of the week as we start to wind down the show, and that is the APK report for Stadia 4.13. is apparently going to have game-specific touch controls and a possible 14,040p streaming. So I'm guessing my takeaway from this is that you can actually, rather than just have the generic on-screen touch controls, you can associate the layouts to what suits, I guess, your hands or the screen type or even the game-specific type. It's been worked on in the background as a feature. My immediate go-to is just, if you're playing a game that's maybe not too action-orientated, the generic layout for the controller on a touchscreen, it's not great, but I think the fact that you can just tweak stuff to your own suiting is way, way better.
I am slightly worried that this might be more inclined to get more mobile ports over rather than... I
didn't think of that.
Because it could be effectively an upgrade on direct touch.
Mm-hmm.
To just give developers more freedom to how they want to implement, but I don't know. This part of me just go, it's just that little niggling thing in my mind going, does this enable a bit easier for mobile ports to come over?
That is a good point. It does kind of lead as well to thinking you could swap out button keys for icons. So in the article's from 9 to 5 Google, by the way. Go read it if you want to know a bit more information. But they're calling it enterprise touch buttons. So essentially, if I was playing PUBG, for example, and the button normally for reload might be X, you could replace the X button with a little gun cartridge or something instead, or the letter R or whatever it is. So if you are playing on touch controls, you're right, it does turn it more into a mobile specific layout. Change your weapon could be 2 arrows rather than press Y, so you don't have to remember. Because again, when you're playing on touchscreen, the button allocation doesn't need to be generic. It can be very specific for the title you're playing. So flip of the coin, I guess, for this one is where we'll say. What do you think about 1440p streaming?
Well, I think it is already there on the Chromecast and browser version, so it's just adding this to mobile, which I generally think is good. 4K, I think, is still a bit of just a buzzword thing, a marketing thing.
Oh yeah.
Where actually the difference, especially on a smaller screen where you're quite close, between 1440p and 4K is barely noticeable.
Yeah.
In fact, in a lot of PC spaces where 1440p or 2K is kind of the gold standard, because the amount of power you need to push to 4K to get the same sort of frame rate and texture qualities and stuff is just, in a lot of cases, just not worth it compared to what 1440p. So I generally think 1440p is the sweet spot for gaming at the moment. 4K might be better for things like movies and stuff, but it's good. This is just a good thing.
Good thing all round. But again, it's one of those updates that we'll keep an eye on as time goes by. Moving on to the next story of the week, we've got a bit of a Kickstarter update for you fine folks out there. I know a lot of games on this platform seem to get uplifted right now through Kickstarter. ProjectZ, if you follow any Stadia content creators, there's been quite a bit of stuff going around for that. ProjectZ is a free-to-play first-person co-op shooter set in the World War II zombie scenario on a secret German island. The game focuses on the ProjectZ itself, run by the Nazis to turn zombies, which have been discovered on the island earlier, into a weapon used for the Nazi war machine. It's currently up for funding, Richie. There's a very brief trailer out for it at the moment. It's gone on to Steam wish lists and stuff. What's your take on this? It seems quite, no disrespect, but it seems quite generic to me. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
me.
It's not something I'm desperate to play, but it looks cool for what it is. As a general rule of thumb, I don't kickstart anything. I don't.
You're a fire starter.
I don't. Yeah, I might burn a few things down. We've pretty much just burned Google and Team 17 this episode.
Well, Team 17,
no,
it's not their fault.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, shout out to the devs who actually reached out to me to let me know this was there. So that's always love when devs contact me directly. So to let me know what's going on. But I'm personally not going to kickstart that. But that again is just my thing. I don't kickstart anything.
Yeah, if you want,
I'm not an investor. I'm as a gamer, I want to buy a complete product.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I wish them well. I really do.
Yeah, it does have again echoes of just World War Z. World War Z to a degree with the zombies. Zombie Army, sorry, is what I was thinking of. Zombie Army 4, of course. Zombie Shooter. I'm sure it's got some nice story in there. I'm always down for a zombie shooting. And who doesn't like killing Nazis, I guess. At the moment, the Kickstarter is currently at 17,000 of its £85,000 goal with 21 days to go. It's got 285 backers, so head over to the Kickstarter if you are interested in ProjectZ, the zombie shooter, to come to Stadia. It is. We should point out as well, the Stadia port is one of their later goals. So don't just think by backing this we get the game. It's one of the later things.
Now, I'm reading different information to you here, because I'm looking at the stretch goals, and 100k is what allows them to create the main game and the main story. 105k, NVIDIA GeForce Now and Google Stadia release. Then I'll skip a few to 150k Xbox Series S and X release, 180k PS5 release. So by this is from their Kickstarter on the stretch goals section. It's like they're banking on going at Stadia and GeForce Now sooner.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'm guessing it's like Steam first, or Epic Game Store, like basic PC first, then GeForce Now Stadia next, or Cloud next, and then console later. Seems to be the priority.
Well, I take that back. Interesting. Yeah. Go back them if you're a fan of zombie shooters and you'd like to see this game come to Stadia first. Yes. Maybe hit up stadia.dev as well, guys, if you are watching along. They could possibly kickstart this better than Kickstarter can. Moving on, though, another zombie-related story for the week. Resident Evil Reverse has been rated for Stadia, Richie. Now, a few weeks ago, we actually gave Capcom some shit, as we seem to do at the moment with everything and everyone. We do love games, honestly. But this, of course, was the multiplayer part of the RE Village that came out last June. So we are nearly on the 1-year anniversary of this game. And it's nice to see that Reverse is still a thing. They've not spoken about it since, but it's been rated for Stadia. So, nothing more to say on that one, but we'll probably hear something about it maybe with its imminent release. I'm guessing DLC for Village is on the horizon. They said they were going to do it. My guess is it's going to be Lady Dimitrescu all out. They're going to double down on the big lady because she was their big money spinner with the launch of that game. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. It looks like it's finally... Well, it's one for certification, so we're getting close. We are indeed. And I'd like to round out the show this week, Richie, by showing a little bit of appreciation for, if you head over to xda-developers.com, there's a little editorial just gone up. I've seen a couple of people tweet about it. Richard Devine, one of the writers over there, has put out an article. Good name. It is a good name. Richard or Devine? Both. And the headline is, I wish more people appreciated how good Google Stadia actually is. He just goes on, very honestly, to say, it's not a fanboy write-up. He just wants that to be clear. He's always started out as a skeptic, as everyone should be, until you see the facts. And he said, let's get right to it. Google Stadia is very good. I wish more people appreciate this. You can point fingers directly, and we could go into everything we talk about on the show anyway. But it was nice to see an article actually written that says, yes, the tech is phenomenal, it's better than xCloud, because we've been saying that from day one. It absolutely hands down is the best cloud gaming tech. It's just lacking in certain other areas. And he's gone on to say about his kids have played many hours of Terraria, and it works really well across multiple platforms. Loves playing on the Chromecast. It's just like a console on your TV, and all the kind of other praises that we've put onto them as well. But again, the press journalists and stuff haven't give Stadia a fair shake, because it's always easy, and he says in his article, it's always easy to talk about the memes or joke about how many players there are and everything like that. But a testament to that, he really appreciates the Pro library and just putting, I guess, virtual pen to virtual paper about the pros and cons from an editor at a website. It's nice to see. Go give Richard Devine some praise for an honest piece. It's a really good. It goes into the limitations of things like using Linux rather than Windows to base the tech, and that has the issue where it needs a dedicated port. And it's quite an interesting read. Definitely recommend it. It really is. But ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to an end for this episode of Sounds of Stadia, episode 137. We've gone through a lot this week. We've gone through, Richie, our ups and our downs of everything that we love about this particular platform. Don't forget, folks, if you haven't done so already, do give the video a like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the content we bring you here at Helix Cloud Games. Like our weekly live streams every Thursday, we jump into the clouds and play a game with you, the amazing community out there. We also have our episode of SideQuest, which is going up it's going up on Sunday for our Helix Heroes out there, you wonderful members who support us that little bit extra, and you can do so by clicking join below. But it also drops onto free feeds and podcast services on the Friday. Richie, remind the people what we're going to go away and talk about this week.
So this week, I mean, we already kind of start the conversation with the Square Enix Embracer story, and we're going to go a bit more in depth into who Embracer are and potentially what this purchase means for Stadia.
We certainly are. So check that out right now, Helix Heroes, from as little as 99p, or if not, hang fire for free feeds. It'll be available right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games. But that's been it for this week. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
And remember, we absolutely embrace crossplay for multiplayer games. However, it is up to the publishers to determine their compatibility. Play wherever makes you the happiest, folks. Have a great week. We'll see you for episode 137. Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.